We're about to start our memorial service. Would you all please stand for the presentation of honors? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have come today for this very special Memorial Day service. As you know, when the VFW was formed here, it was formed in memory of a gentleman who had lived here, was a veteran of World War II, and had been a POW over in Europe. His name was Frank A. Palumbo. Unfortunately, Frank had an accident and he died very suddenly. He was, however, the first president of the first homeowners group, if you would call it, that was formed here in the park, called the Gator Club. In his memory, the residents of the park formed the VFW Frank A. Palumbo Post 10478. I never met him. I never met his wife. When I moved here, I joined the Ladies Auxiliary and served the VFW Post 10478. And even after they were disbanded, my membership was taken to Post 1966, and I continue to this day to try and do my best to honor all veterans. We are so honored today, however, to welcome Frank A. Palumbo, Jr. Would you say goodbye? We're so honored to have him. And as you will notice, the pictures at the front of his dad and the original post of our VFW post. And please make sure you sign the guest book so that he can take that back to his family. Also today, we're here to honor veterans, all past, present, and those future people that put on a uniform and serve our country. I learned this week that this was the 150th anniversary of Arlington National Cemetery, where many, many veterans have been buried since the Civil War. And we have the blessed tomb of the unknown soldier. And I was sent a very interesting set of facts that I'd like to share with you, as I usually do on Memorial Day. I've been there many times and watched as the Marines guard the tomb of the unknown soldier. There was some questions posted. I was able to answer a few, but not all of them, and I thought I'd share them with you because I found it so interesting. How many steps during the walk across the path does the veteran take, the guard?
21.
21. And he does that in honor of the 21-gun salute, which is the highest honor that any military or foreign dignitary can be afforded. How long does he take after his about face to return to the other end? 21 seconds. The same as 21-gun salute. Why are his gloves wet? They're moistened to prevent a slipping of his grip on the rifle. Does he carry the rifle on the same shoulder all the time? And if not, why not? He always carries his rifle on the shoulder away from the tomb, in respect. After his march across the path, he executes an about face and moves the rifle to the outside shoulder. How often are the guards changed? The guards change every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. What are physical traits that the guards are limited to? For a guard to apply, he must be between 5'10" and 6'2", and he cannot have a waist that exceeds 30 inches. They must commit 2 years of their life to guard the tomb. They live in a barracks under the tomb and cannot drink alcohol on or off duty for the rest of their lives. They cannot swear in public for the rest of their lives, and they cannot disgrace the uniform or the tomb in any way. After 2 years, the guard is given a wreath pin that is worn on his lapel, signifying that he served as a guard of the tomb. There are only 400 that are presently worn. And the guard must obey these rules for the rest of his life, or he has to give up the wreath pin. The shoes that he wears are made specially with thick soles, and there are metal heel plates that extend to the top of the shoe to make the loud click as they come to a halt. There are no wrinkles or folds or lint on his uniform, and the guards dress on duty in front of a full-length mirror. The first 6 months of duty, a guard cannot talk to anyone or watch TV. All of his duty time is spent studying the 175 notable people laid to rest in Arlington Cemetery. A guard must memorize who they are and where they are interred. Among the notables there are President Taft, Joe Louis the boxer, Medal of Honor winner, and actor Audie Murphy, who was the most decorated soldier of World War II. Every guard spends 5 hours a day getting his uniform ready for guard duty. In 2003, Hurricane Isabel was nearing Washington, D.C. The U.S. Senate and the House took 2 days off with anticipation of the storm. On ABC Evening News, it was reported that because of the storm and the dangers involved, the military guarding the tomb were given permission to suspend their assignment. They respectfully replied, "No way, sir." In the pelting rain, soaked to the skin of the tropical storm, they stood and they guarded that tomb. They said that guarding the tomb was not just an assignment, but the highest honor that can be afforded a service person. The tomb has been controlled continuously, 24/7, since 1930. May God bless and keep them, and may God grant eternal rest, and the Lord let perpetual sunshine, light upon them. Amen. The VFW has a tradition that as long as 2 comrades survive, so long will we, the veterans of the foreign wars of the United States, tender tribute to our heroic dead. Comrades, attention. On this day, forever consecrated to our heroic dead, we are assembled once again to express sincere reverence. These monuments represent the resting places of many departed comrades who served in all wars. Wherever the body of a comrade lies, here the ground of these men and women is solemn, it's hallowed, and our presence here is in solemn commemoration of all these men, an expression of our tribute to their devotion to duty, to their courage and patriotism. By their services on land and sea and in the air, they have made us their debtors, for the flag of our nation still flies over the land of a free people. Comrade Chaplain, you will ask the divine blessing.
Please, father of us all. deaf and silent readers realize the truth of these smarted words. I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. His comment.
On behalf of veterans of foreign wars of the United States, I place this symbol of our remembrance.
I'll place this symbol of purity on the comrade's grave. May each future generation emulate the unselfish courage of all men and women who fought for our freedom.
Office of the day. In memory of the heroic dead who have fallen in defense of the United States of America, I place this tribute of our devotion and everlasting remembrance.
I am proud to present this emblem of eternity. Its color bespeaks life everlasting. Thus do we immortalize the brave deeds of our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have given their lives on land, on sea, and in the air. Comrades, left face. To you, comrades who have departed, we render a silent salute. This table is our way of symbolizing the act that members of our profession in arms are missing from our midst. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us here today, and so we remember them. This table symbolizes our showing of everlasting concern is for our missing men and women. Remember, the table is set for one and is small. It symbolizes the frailty of one prisoner against his oppressors. Remember, the tablecloth is white. It symbolizes the purity of their intention to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember, the single rose displayed in the vase reminds us of the families of the loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep faith, awaiting their return. Remember, the red ribbon tied so prominently around the base is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn on the paling breasts of those thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting for our missing. Remember, a slice of lemon is on the plate. That is to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember, there is salt upon the bread plate. It is symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember, the Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, founded as one nation under God. Remember, the glass is inverted. They cannot toast without tonight. Remember, the candle is reminiscent of the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of a grateful nation. Remember, the chair is empty. They are not here. Remember all of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended on their might and aid and relied on them, for surely they have not forsaken you. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. At this time, it is my distinct honor to welcome, for a few remarks, our mayor of the town of Davie, Judy Paul.
I've known Marcia for a long time, and I know her lifeblood is with the armed services and the veterans, and I think she did a marvelous job with the program today, and I think we should all give her a hand. As I drove here today, my heart was filled with pride as I drove down Davie Road and saw the signs that we put up in February for the Purple Heart Trail. And a big thank you to all our veterans and our lifeblood again is seen on Davie Road. But I'll tell you one thing. As wonderful as that ceremony is, I have never seen anything so poignant and so heartfelt as what we saw here this morning. Okay, so I thought it would be appropriate to read the governor's proclamation. Whereas our nation is honor-bound to join together on May 26, 2014, to remember the fallen heroes of our armed forces, and whereas on Memorial Day, as throughout the year, we honor and pray for the men and women in uniform who answered the call of duty and made the ultimate sacrifice to maintain the security of our country and the liberties we hold so dear. And whereas we also show our respect for the family members of those serving in our armed forces and the sacrifices that have been made to defend our great nation and our way of life. And whereas our grateful nation honors the selfless service of our armed forces, and we acknowledge a debt of honor owed to those who have given their lives to defend and preserve America and our freedom, our values, and the ideals of democracy. And whereas it is important for us as a state and country to honor the selfless sacrifice of all the men and women of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard who died in service to our nation so that we might continue to enjoy the freedoms we so deeply cherish. Now, therefore, I, Rick Scott, Governor of the State of Florida, by virtue of the power and authority vested in me by the laws and Constitution of the State of Florida, do hereby proclaim May 26th as Memorial Day in Florida in recognition of all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice throughout the history of our great nation, and ask all Floridians to pause for 1 minute and observe the national moment of remembrance to honor America's fallen at 3 p.m. local time on May 26th, and direct all U.S. and state flags in Florida to be lowered to half-staff from sunrise until noon on May 26, 2014, in memory of the fallen heroes of our armed forces. Thank you very much. I want to introduce the Vice Mayor, Carol Hatton, who's joined me here today.
Some of you know, and some of you don't know. I was raised by a World War II. My father, Marine, my father was a hero in Europe and very decorated. And while I respect and honor and work for every veteran that's ever served, the Marines are my heart. Anybody that knows me know I fight for the Marines. So goodbye. I'm also proud to say that my oldest granddaughter, Stacy, is married he's been promoted this year since last year. He's now Sergeant Major. Jeff serving in Hawaii. With my granddaughter and their 4 daughters, who also serve. My granddaughter Lindsay in New Hampshire, her husband was promoted this year, Sergeant James, and he is out in college right now, but could be called back. So Sergeant James Clark, another Marine. So we're keeping a tradition in my family. But we respect and honor all veterans. At this time, I am very, very honored to introduce you to a special speaker that we've invited here today, and who so graciously decided to come. His name is Dr. Du Hua. He was a child in Vietnam when the Viet Cong and the communists took over the country. You can only imagine playing on a playground and the shots ring out and they have to run home for cover. Well, there wasn't much cover. And he tried to escape, and in order to escape Vietnam, you had to have a lot of gold. There were boats going out, but you had to have gold to pay for the boats. He didn't have any gold. He was very poor. And he lived in fear every day of his life. But he knew he had to escape. So he became a diesel mechanic. Very smart man, because if you're the mechanic and you make the motor, they got to take you on that boat so you can fix it. And so he did. And after he speaks, he's got a display of pictures that he will share with you. He finally got on a boat after 11 tries, mind you. They caught them 11 times and destroyed the boat. 11 times. But they persevered because freedom was everything to him. Finally got on a boat, and after 5 days and 5 nights with no water and no food, they were giving up. They were despairing. They thought their lives were over. And a German merchant ship saved them. Took them to an internment camp in the Philippines. And he said, I'm going to learn English, and I'm going to go to America and thank them for my freedom. And that's exactly what he did. And when he got here, coming here was not enough. He joined the Navy. And the first ship he served on was the USS America. And I am so honored to ask him to speak to us today. Dr. Hughes.
Thank you so much. Such an honor. But I remember very well, during the New Year holiday celebrations of 1968, they took advantage of the people who were caught completely unaware and launched a massive attack to the people of South Vietnam. But the communists failed to realize that the people of the South were strong and brave. The South Vietnamese and the American armed force stood up together, pushed back the barbaric demons. They decisively defeated the communists in the Tet Offensive, 1968. I wanted to follow the path that my brother and sister have been fighting for. The path of freedom. I still remember so well how our men and women fought for freedom. My Vietnam veterans, I saw you there. You have been in my village, scouting and fighting the enemy. I saw you standing tall, heroically, with the South Vietnamese soldiers, defending us against the communists. I saw you helping the sick and the injured Vietnamese people. I saw you protecting my village and making me and all the children laugh. You brought freedom and security to my village. You are our angels, my Vietnam veterans. Thank you for showing me that you have so much humanity and kindness in your heart. And thank you for showing me what freedom is all about. I knew I was so blessed and lucky to have a place to escape to. That place called the United States of America, the last stand on earth. Thank you so much for your service and sacrifice in fighting for the morale and this noble cause on our behalf. Thank you. May God bless you and welcome home. Thank you and welcome home.
At this time, we will have the roll call of our deceased and departed members of 10478 and residents and family members of residents in the park. Robert Hendrick, Frank A. Palumbo, Edward Hooray, Elmer Parsons, Charles W. Swanson, Lester Hilliard. Veterans, if you would all stand. Those of you that can stand. We have veterans here from...
Get up, Barry.
Okay, are we ready, men?